Genesis G70 shows just how far its parent company, Hyundai, has come. This is no longer a brand that Americans doubt. It's a brand that defines modern luxury, and the entire Genesis lineup is proof of that. This is the 2024 rear-wheel drive Genesis G70. And I'm Alanis King. Today, I want to walk you through 5 things I love about this vehicle and 1 thing I am not so hot on. But before we talk about this G70, I should say, if you're anything like me, the older you get, the more Jimmy Johnson merchandise you buy. And if you're interested in this Jimmy Johnson merchandise, it's available on Home Field Apparel's website. You can use code Alanis24 for 15% off your order of this or anything else. First, let's talk about why the Genesis G70 exists. Genesis is a fairly new luxury brand under Hyundai Motor, but before Genesis was its own brand, it had a couple of other identities. There was the Hyundai Genesis Coupe, which came around in like 2009. It was a sporty rear-wheel drive car with between 200 and 300-ish horsepower and an available manual transmission. That car looked really cool, and it stayed on the market through 2016, when Hyundai killed it to make room for the new identity of Genesis. But we'll get to that in a second. At the same time, there was a regular Hyundai Genesis, a high-end sedan that debuted as a concept at the 2007 New York International Auto Show. It became a production model soon after. The concept was a big deal. Motor Trend literally wrote in its story about the car, let me read it for you verbatim. Hell has indeed frozen over, and the first US-bound rear-drive V8-powered Hyundai has slid right across the ice into our world. And oh, it did. Motor Trend said the new Hyundai Genesis would be the first US market Hyundai with adaptive cruise control and a push-button start. And Hyundai said this car was meant to win over car enthusiasts. Hyundai even mentioned the car's competitors, the Mercedes-Benz E-Class and the BMW 5 Series, right there in the press release announcing it. The Hyundai Genesis sedan was a really cool and unique vehicle, just like the Genesis Coupe was. But it also died in 2016 to make room for a new era, the era of Genesis as a brand. Hyundai Motor announced in 2015 that Genesis would become its own global luxury brand. The brand would use a winged logo similar to Aston Martin's, and the cars would get alphanumeric names like the G70. The Genesis sedans became the G70, G80, and G90, going up in price and size as the numbers in their names went up. And the SUVs became the GV60, GV70, and GV80, with the same concept. The Hyundai Genesis that we all came to love became the Genesis G80, and Genesis built its lineup out from there. That little history lesson brings us to 5 things I love and 1 thing I don't love so much about this Genesis G70. And the first thing I absolutely love about this car is the way it looks on the outside. And if you didn't know, which you may not, I learned this last year at the LA Auto Show, the Genesis logo that we talked about earlier, which has that central Genesis little bit and then has wings come out from either side, actually informs how Genesis styles the front ends of its vehicles. So the central part looks like a little guitar pick, right? We have it rounded up here and then it points off at the bottom. You'll notice that's the same shape as this grille right here. And then the wings that branch off are the headlights. They just flutter out to the side. We also have lines that go down the sides of each of the vehicles. And then the taillights also wrap around with this same styling that is top, bottom, slice in the middle. And the thing I love about Genesis styling of any of the Genesis vehicles, or even the Hyundai Genesis that came before them, is that the shape of this vehicle is not anything wild. It just doesn't get in your face. It's the details that are really, really beautiful. This headlight, you don't see this on other cars. It's very staple Genesis. Yet it's not so out there and so in your face and so different and weird that in 10 years we'll go, oh, that's ugly. I think in 10 years we'll go, wow, that's still just as elegant as it was back then. And these days, when you see a Genesis on the road, even if you don't know what it is, you look at it and you go, huh, that's nice. We also have this exterior paint color. It's this metallic candy apple red called Cavendish Red. It's a $650 option, and it just looks so elegant. It matches the brake calipers so well, and this car in general is just understated luxury. You're not screaming at people to look at you, but when they do, they take a good long look. The second thing I absolutely love about this Genesis G70, just like the exterior, is how the interior looks and feels. Hyundai, Kia, Genesis, they are so good at making a good quality interior that looks nice, feels nice, and makes you feel like you bought the right thing, even at a lower price point. This Genesis G70 starts at about $41,000, so it is the bottom of Genesis's sedan lineup. It is the cheapest one you can get. And when you get in here, you realize that this is less fancy than the higher-end Genesis models. They have these crystal selectors and all of this really wild stuff inside. This is just a normal, nice interior, but it nails the niceness. The patterns on these light beige, almost white seats are just so elegant, and you have these little bits of silver that break it up. Everything in here feels so sturdy. It's not covered in piano black. The only bit that's kind of piano black is this little screen in the center, which it's probably gonna get nasty, but it actually hasn't gotten nasty for me yet, which is nice. But everything in here just feels so high quality, and you have little bits of patterns that carry around throughout the car. So the cup holders have this ring around them that has this little indentation pattern, and that indentation pattern matches all of the buttons on the dashboard and also the volume knob and the tune knob. Genesis really carries the theme throughout this vehicle and makes this vehicle look nice, but not over the top like you get with some of the other cars. You're paying for a lot of really fancy, unique features in those cars. This car, you just want it to be nice, and it is. The third thing I absolutely love about this Genesis G70 is the price. And every single time you get a loaner car to review, you get the window sticker, otherwise known as the Monroney. And this is the first time I have ever gotten a window sticker that says $0. Price to be determined. And obviously this car is not $0. The Genesis G70 starts at $41,500. This car has the Sport Prestige package, which includes 19-inch alloy wheels, a dark chrome grille, a sport aluminum trim, a wide sunroof, and a bunch of other stuff. And that is $4,200 extra. Then we have the paint color, Cavendish Red, $650. So, according to my calculations in the configurator, since I don't have a price listed right here, this car is about $47,600 or so. And that is not bad at all. And the starting price of this car is especially good because the average price of a new car in America is $50,000. To get this Genesis from Hyundai's luxury brand with the wonderful exterior, the wonderful interior, and the great driving experience for $41,500, that is a deal. Now it's time for today's intermission, which is how many Atlantises can fit in this Genesis G70's trunk. And while we're opening this trunk, I should just say, this key is an example of everything I love from Hyundai and Genesis. Here we are with a $41,000 sedan, and you get a white quilted key? Are you kidding me? Nice. You also get a trunk that will hopefully fit an Atlantis, but that is to be determined. Oh, here we go. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Okay, here we go. Getting a little tight, getting a little scary. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Oh, not bad. This is like a solid 1 1/3 of an Atlantis, maybe actually 1 1/2 of an Atlantis. I mean, we don't have much room, not much upward mobility in here, but sideways mobility, once you're in, not too bad. The fourth thing I absolutely love about this Genesis G70 is how it drives. This car is very comfortable on the road. The suspension is very cushy and nice. The steering is responsive, but it has that little bit of lag that you feel in really luxurious cars. It's just a really nice driving experience. We're on a rough road right now, so you have a little bit of road noise coming up, but there's not a lot of wind noise. And I will say the caveat about this car being nice to drive is that with the 300 horsepower, it doesn't accelerate quite as fast as kind of you would like from a sporty sedan, right? So I'll show you just a second as I get on the highway. The acceleration is fine, but it's not great. It's good enough to merge, it's good enough to do what you need to do with the car, but it's not a party trick. It's not going to really impress anybody. It also doesn't sound too great when it accelerates. We're just listening to the engine. There's no added in sound. There's nothing piped in to make it sound really, really sporty and nice. But you know what? At least it's honest. Now, this car is so nice and comfortable and just peaceful to be in. You could take this on long road trips. And I feel like this car is like your rich aunt's car, right? She's older, she's established. She wants something fancy to kind of show you and show, hey, I'm doing well in life. And that's what this car is. It's cushy, it's great to drive. You can take it a lot of places and just feel like you picked the right car for those longer trips on the road. And also, it's impressive, it's different, it looks cool. I really enjoy the driving experience in this car. I think it does what Genesis set out to do with the original Hyundai Genesis, which is make a car that people who drive cars and like cars, like me, will enjoy driving. Of course, this isn't a hot hatch. This isn't anything just wildly sporty. But do I enjoy driving it? Yeah, they got the right audience. The fifth thing I absolutely love about this Genesis G70 is the warranty. And you might be saying, Alanis, of course, it's a Hyundai. It's got a great warranty. But I think the really cool thing about the warranty is that it involves a little bit of a history lesson and a little bit of the evolution of Hyundai as really a powerhouse brand on the American market. Hyundai entered America in 1986 with a subcompact car called the Hyundai Excel. And in those early days, Hyundai's reputation was not great. It was on the back foot because Americans like American vehicles, and Hyundai got this early reputation for bad reliability. So into the 90s, sales really fell off. So Hyundai's in real need of an identity makeover here. The automaker acquires Kia in the late 90s, and they introduce a thing called America's Best Warranty. 10 years, 100,000 miles on the powertrain. 5 years, 60,000 miles, bumper to bumper. And 5 years of roadside assistance with unlimited mileage. If it's within 5 years of you buying the vehicle and you're stranded, they are gonna come get you. And this was really the beginning of Hyundai's reimagination of itself. It came out with all these vehicles with nice styling, and all of those vehicles came with the promise that, hey, if something happens within this period of time, you are good. Most other automakers are 3 years, 36,000 miles bumper to bumper. So if you're a new car buyer who wants more assurance that you're gonna make it longer, you're kind of leaning toward a Hyundai at this point, right? And often, new car buyers, the reason they're buying a new car is because they're scared of what'll happen with a used car. The warranty means a lot. The newness of the car means a lot. And as that car gets older, they're probably just gonna get rid of it for a new one. So this warranty really helped turn Hyundai around. 'Cause 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 reached the one thing I don't love so much about this Genesis G70, and that is that in 2 areas of technology, this car lets me down. Everywhere else, it's great, but these 2 areas are big ones for me. The first one is that when I got in this car, first thing I do every single time I get a loaner review car is I set up Apple CarPlay, because as anybody with a new car or has driven a new car will tell you, Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, I don't use Android Auto, but Apple CarPlay is king. It is better than whatever system the automaker has. It is so easy to use. It is so great. I absolutely love it. Get in this car and I try to set up Apple CarPlay and it won't go. And I'm like, what is going on here? It's 2024. It's time for some Apple CarPlay. Car tells me I need a wire to hook my phone up. And that, listen, first world problems and everything, but to need a wire for Apple CarPlay, to get in the car and to not have my phone automatically connect to CarPlay, to have to stick this wire in here every single time and then wait for it to connect? No. We need wireless Apple CarPlay. And I am not getting that in here. And that really stresses me out. And I need my Apple CarPlay. Second thing that is not quite up to my standard for this vehicle is that when I put it in reverse or when I'm getting into a parking spot, I have a couple of cameras, but I don't have a top-down 360 rendering of the vehicle going into the space. And yeah, I drive a lot of cars. I drive a lot of nice cars, but I drive a lot of cars that when I am going into a parking space, I have that 360 view on my screen telling me exactly where to stop in the parking space and exactly where everything next to me is. When I don't have that, I feel kind of lost. I'm like, oh, I don't have skills anymore. Where did my parking skills go? They're not here. I need my aerial camera. And I don't have that in here. And that is disappointing. Thank you all so much for watching 5 things I love and 1 thing I don't love so much about this Genesis G70. And thank you for watching it in this sunny hurricane in which my hair went everywhere. If you liked the video, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. Leave me a comment or a like. Tell me what you want to see in the future and tell me what you thought about today. I also have a new podcast channel called 36 Questions with Alanis King, where I will be interviewing lots of motorsports figures about their lives, the things you don't hear from them while they're at work on a race weekend. Feel free to give that one a follow, and thank you all for your support. We'll see you next time.